Good morning. It's Wednesday, November 27th. Here's what we're working on. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to meet with the country's premiers this afternoon after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's tariff threat.
Serial killer Paul Bernardo has been denied parole for a third time.
And Austin Matthews returns to practice ahead of tonight's game against the Florida Panthers. Good morning. Emily, what are you doing over in the wrong box?
Well,
you're in the right box.
I'm in the right box, but the wrong box all at the same time. Yes, I'm going to be filling in for Brian for a little while. He is off for the next couple of weeks, so expect to see some mediocre traffic cameras, but an accurate forecast.
Right. And interesting how he's taking time off just as the snow is coming in.
Yes.
Right? Well, let's just put it this way. The last time I filled in for Brian, it was 17 degrees because we use different maps. So on my last map, I was like, oh, yeah, it was 17 degrees.
Remember those days?
Yes.
Yeah, well, today's only going to be 5, but yesterday we got up to 7, so it wasn't bad.
Wasn't
and you
bad.
know what we're going to see today?
Snow?
No.
Sun?
That beautiful ball in the sky.
Okay.
I feel like we haven't seen that in forever.
All right.
Is that it? Am I done? Can I go?
No, now you start.
All right, now I begin. Okay, so looking outside our studios, we've got 403 Waterdown Road. Yes, still dark, but dry. Everybody moving as well as they should be for this time of day. The Skyway, Hamilton side, also moving well. And we're looking at Guelph Line, traffic moving smoothly. Again, dress for cool conditions this morning. We're sitting around the freezing mark. So if you're just heading out, make sure you're bundling. QEW third line also looking good, and the junction moving well as well. Okay, we've got your forecast details coming up, but first, here's Tim and Annette with the news.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, there is an emergency meeting this afternoon with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the country's premiers. It follows U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's tariff threat. Simone Gavros joins us now in studio with the latest on what's happening.
Well, good morning, Annette. Well, premiers across the country called for this urgent meeting on U.S.-Canada relations prior to Trump's tariff threat Monday night, but the meeting will heavily focus on what this means for the country. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he had a phone call with Trump following this announcement. Here's more on how that went.
One of the really important things is that we be all pulling together on this. The Team Canada approach is what works. That's where, putting aside partisanship, that's where I reached out immediately to Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States. Talked with François Legault and some other premiers as well. There's work to do, but we know how to do it.
Trump posted on Truth Social saying, quote, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Trump has threatened to introduce a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States from Canada and Mexico on its first day as president. Some experts say this may be a negotiation tactic to see change at the border, but economists say this would dramatically drive up costs. The House of Commons held an emergency debate last night following a request from the NDP and the Conservatives. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says that Trudeau should have been better prepared.
President Trump yesterday made an unjustified threat of a 25% tariff on our already weak and shrinking economy. Our economy is teetering on the brink of collapse, and now we face this renewed threat. We need a plan to put Canada first on the economy and on security.
Trump's 25% tariff would push up the cost of Canadian products sold in the U.S., including oil and gas, automobiles, and lumber. The exports are worth $600 billion a year to Canada. Tim, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Simone. Well, serial killer Paul Bernardo has been denied parole for a third time. The parole board noted that while Bernardo has made some progress, there is still significant concern about his risk of offending again and his narcissistic personality disorder, given the extremely violent nature of his crimes. Bernardo, who is a designated dangerous offender, is serving an undetermined life sentence for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murders of 15-year-old Kristen French, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey in the early 1990s in Port Dalhousie. Now, Debbie Mahaffey broke down in tears while asking the parole board to deny Bernardo any type of release because of his heinous crimes and his lack of remorse. Donna French says she has not healed from the senseless and brutal loss of her daughter in the 32 years since she was killed.
Hamilton man's been found guilty after a deadly and random series of attacks 4 years ago. Keith Overholt was convicted last night of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. On November 9th, 2020, he repeatedly hit a woman in downtown Hamilton while she was waiting to cross the street. A short time later, he stabbed 37-year-old Andrew Ainscow 37 times in an alley and attacked another man before his arrest early the next morning. Overholt didn't know any of his victims. CHCH News spoke to the family of Andrew Ainscow last night, who say they are relieved at the verdict.
And now to hear the verdict we did today, it's an overwhelming sense of relief and gratefulness that Overholt will never, ever do this to someone again, will never hurt someone again.
This was a case of random violence. These victims had no affiliation to the accused. They were randomly selected. They were either beaten, stabbed to death, or almost stabbed to death. And this is very serious. And I'm grateful that they've come to this conclusion.
Keith Overholt's sentencing will be set at a later date.
Let's stay in Hamilton because police are investigating the city's 60th shooting of the year. This happened on Jackson Street East at Bowen Street around 8 o'clock last night. Police say it was a targeted incident, but at this time they do not believe that there were any injuries. The person believed to be intended for the target did not remain at the scene. Officers are looking to identify the shooting suspect, described as a man with curly hair wearing a hoodie, blue jeans, and black and white shoes.
OPP are looking for a man who shot at several vehicles while walking on Highway 401 in Mississauga. This was early yesterday. Dashcam footage circulating online shows the man on the 401 approaching drivers, pointing a gun. OPP got several reports of shots fired at passing vehicles near Dixie Road. This was around 5 yesterday morning. Police say the man then stole a vehicle and drove off. He's black, in his late 20s or early 30s with long braided hair. He was wearing a blue-gray t-shirt, jeans, and white and black running shoes. That incident led to a lengthy closure of the eastbound 401 collector lanes at Dixie Road that Brian was telling us about yesterday, as well as some Highway 410 and 401 ramps. Well, the site of a popular Bavarian restaurant in Hamilton's International Village is about to reopen under a different name. Das Schnitzel House will open next Wednesday, December 4th, at the former Black Forest Inn. On their social media, they say they'll have, quote, the same food, same atmosphere, same service, same menu, new ownership. We don't know who the owners are. The Black Forest permanently closed in October because of unforeseen financial challenges, just as it was about to reopen after a months-long shutdown. You see a lot of police near Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton today. No need to panic. It is the Hamilton Police launching their festive ride campaign. It starts this afternoon. This year they've partnered with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Forge FC, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving to offer discounted tickets to drivers who successfully pass through the ride lanes. The aim of the ticket voucher program is to remind drivers of the danger of impaired driving and to encourage responsible driving over the holidays. Campaign starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon on Cannon East in front of Tim Hortons Field. Which leads us right into sports.
Why, thank you
You're
for that
welcome.
Introduction. Pretty quiet Tuesday night for the NHL with only 2 games on the ice. That changes tonight, though, on the eve of Thanksgiving down south. 15 games, including the Leafs in Florida to play the champs, and there could be a chance. You're telling me there's a chance Austin Matthews could be back in the lineup. Number 34, full participant at Leafs practice for the first time since he went down with an upper body injury earlier this month. The injury, Matthews says, that he suffered actually during the preseason, then kind of worsened during the beginning of the season. Had him heading to Germany to see a specialist last week. Despite him being back Matthews returning tonight against the Panthers does remain up in the air.
Over the blue line. Ayton, little flip. Schmaltz cutting in. Schmaltz in front, score!
Well, one of the games on the ice last night was in Montreal, and former Hab Mikhail Sergachev would score the overtime winner for the Utah Hockey Club as they came back from a goal down in the third to escape the 3-2 win. The Habs' woes to start the season continued, grabbing a point, but they only had 15 shots the entire game, which is the lowest total for them since 2009. Vancouver beat Boston 2-0 in the only other NHL game last night. But on the ice in London, it was the first ever Prospects Challenge that had the best prospects from the Canadian Hockey League facing off against the best from the U.S. National Development Program. It's really a showcase for the upcoming NHL draft in June, and it was dominated by the CHL players. 6 different players scored goals for the CHL in the 6-1 win, with Erie Otters defenseman Matthew Schaefer, a really highly rated prospect, scoring coming up right here and adding an assist. Bulldogs forward Jake O'Brien, he suited up for the CHL as well. These two play again tonight in Oshawa. Let's go to baseball, where the first domino of the baseball offseason fell overnight, and the rich just keep on getting richer. The World Series champs have signed prize free agent pitcher Blake Snell to a 5-year, $182 million contract pending a physical. The 2-time Cy Young winner spent the past season with the rival San Diego Padres and joins a star-studded LA Dodgers rotation that should have ML MVP Shohei Ohtani back on the mound. Big trade in the CFL yesterday as the BC Lions have shipped out quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. to Calgary for a number of prospects. The man they call Big Play VA became expendable after the Lions signed Nathan Rourke during the season when things didn't work out for him in the NFL. During his 8-year career in the CFL, Adams has been under center for the Riders, Alouettes, and Lions, and became a real offseason target for the Stamps after moving on from upcoming free agent Jake Mayer after 2 seasons. And let's finish up with some high school football. Big congrats to the Corpus Christi High School football team from Burlington, who won the Ontario Football Championships in Windsor yesterday. They beat A.N. Meyer Secondary from Niagara Falls 13-10 to take home the Golden Horseshoe Bowl. So congrats to all the players and coaches involved.
All right, 6:12 on your Wednesday morning. Looking at our studios, outside our studios, not bad. Traffic moving well. The weather is certainly cooperating. We are dry, and we're going to see some glorious sunshine today. It's been a hot minute since we've seen that. But yeah, outside our studios, 403 Waterdown Road, looking good. We do have other traffic cameras. These are the MTO, and hopefully they behave for me, because I know Brian fights with them a lot. The QEW Skyway on the Burlington side, a little bit of a slowdown, most likely related to volume, but for the most part, things are looking good. QEW at Trafalgar moving well. And here we have the QEW at Red Hill Creek, also looking good. QEW at Third Line, staying dry, moving well. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. Burloak also looking good at this hour. Okay, right now we're cold. We're not freezing, but we're cold. We're looking at -2 through Hamilton. We're 1 in Grimsby, -1 through Mississauga, and 2 degrees through Toronto. Heading to the bus stop early this morning, dress for temperatures around the freezing mark, but by this afternoon, we're looking at 5 degrees and lots of sunshine, so you may shed a layer. We do have an area of low pressure, however, that is going to put a damper on the rest of the week. Could see a few isolated flurries, maybe even some mixing, some slippery road conditions. Now is the time you might want to start thinking about putting on your winter tires. Make that appointment. This area of low pressure is, however, going to be staying mostly to our south, so it's really just going to be along the lake shores that we do see anything. And then we start to see the impact of lake effect snow. So areas along the shores of Huron, Georgian Bay could actually be seeing some pretty decent accumulation. We do have snowfall warnings and winter travel advisories up through northern Ontario. That's not for us yet. we are looking at temperatures that are just a touch too warm for some significant snowfall. So today, anywhere between 2 and 6 degrees throughout the region. Tonight, we are going to be cooling down to the freezing mark, maybe even a little bit cooler in some areas. This is when that low starts to push in. This is where we're going to be seeing a little bit of mixing, chance of a few isolated flurries. Ground is still too warm for it to accumulate, but it could make for some slick surfaces, especially early tomorrow morning. Now, by the afternoon tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud. Earlier in the day, could see a little bit of mixing, a few isolated flurries. Again, it's really going to depend on location. Kitchener could see more mixing. Burlington could see a little bit more sunshine. So as you are heading out the door this morning on this 27th of November, it's chilly. We're going to be sitting around 1 degree, so that's what you need to dress for. Not too much of a wind chill, which is good news. All right, back to the news with Tim and Annette.
Okay, coming up after the break, we're going to see Emily in a different box talking about what's coming up.
Don't go anywhere.
In Chit Chat. Don't go anywhere. And coming up in business news, Sheridan College is putting dozens of programs on hold and laying off staff. We have the details in 2 minutes. Welcome back. What's coming up in Chit Chat, Emily?
Well, we are going to be talking about Black Friday shopping, potentially. And this is going to end up at the end of the week. Who's doing what kind of shopping and where. And the Toronto Humane Society Taylor Swift adoption campaign was a huge success. And a couple of popular movie props are going up for auction.
I love how you have to move boxes. Can't you just stay in the regular box?
Well,
I know it's not that far away.
That box doesn't say Chit Chat behind it.
Yeah.
That box has a map or traffic.
Us. I know where she is. Wherever she is in the box is what we're talking about.
Magic.
Yeah, she's just demanding to be on TV as much as possible, too.
You're getting lots of steps in today.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll see you in a bit.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Okay. 6:18 right now on your Wednesday morning, and the Canadian dollar is up 15 basis points, recovered a little bit from that big drop yesterday. It's trading overseas at 71.16 cents US. Gold is up almost $28, and crude is up 32 cents, just above $69 a barrel. Checking midday trading in Europe, markets are up in London just a little bit, but a triple-digit loss in Germany, almost a triple-digit loss in Paris.
Let's go to Asia. Markets were down in Tokyo, but up in Hong Kong and Shanghai. North American markets, TSX on Tuesday, down slightly, nothing substantial, but some bigger gains as we head to Wall Street. Gains of 123, 119th on the NASDAQ. Listen, today is the last day of the trading week. Actually, obviously they're off tomorrow for Thanksgiving. I think maybe they do a half day on Friday. I have to check into that.
I think that they do.
Do a half day on Friday? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, we'll keep an eye on that. Here's some other business news for you.
Well, Sheridan College is suspending 40 programs and cutting staff. It's because of government policy changes and declining enrollment. The college, with campuses in Oakville, Brampton, and Mississauga, is facing a $112 million loss in revenue. Current students will still be able to graduate, but no first-year students will be admitted in a number of programs, including animation. And Sheridan has a huge animation program. Health, business, and the arts. Up to 30% of staff may face layoffs or voluntary retirement. Mohawk College in Hamilton also planning layoffs and cutbacks because of fewer international students.
Black Friday sales are already underway, and experts say the Canada Post strike, it will have a big impact on how consumers shop. Experts say the Canada Post workers' strike is adding another layer of complexity to Black Friday. He added small businesses who use Canada Post to mail parcels will be hit the hardest, and consumers are looking elsewhere to get their packages on time. So the strike is now on day 13, and Canada Post said it's down 11 million parcels since the job action began.
It's more bad news for the Canadian economy. This strike has probably put Canada Post on its deathbed.
Now, meanwhile, the union representing the postal workers said while Canada Post is doing everything it can to portray itself as fair and reasonable, the reality is that this round of bargaining has been an all-out attack on the rights and benefits postal workers have fought for decades to achieve.
Shares of the big three automakers had a huge drop yesterday because of Donald Trump's threatened 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. Shares of GM, Ford, and Chrysler-owned Stellantis all tumbled, with GM suffering the biggest drop, 8%. Trump says he's going to impose the tariff on his first day in office, triggering investor concerns over supply chains that rely on both Mexico and Canada for auto parts and production. That's because some parts pass through all three countries several times before a vehicle is fully made and sold. And Simone is working on a story today about an emergency meeting of Canada's premiers and the Prime Minister over what to do with the Team Canada approach on this.
Yeah, we'll be watching that for you. We're also watching the forecast. Well, Emily Vukovic is watching the forecast and what we can expect into the weekend where the snow could be flying.
6:25 on your Wednesday. It is certainly a chilly start to the day, but we are going to be seeing some sunshine throughout the region. Temperatures sitting around -1, -2 for Hamilton. We're -1 through Guelph. We are going to be seeing cooler conditions through Toronto, sitting at 2 degrees, and -1 through Milton. All right, school day forecast. First bell, we're looking at 1 degree, lots of sunshine, and after school, warming up to 5 degrees, and again, lots of sun. Looking at the radar, you can see a few flurries up towards northern Ontario and some mixing. We are going to be seeing that low push its way through the north, and we are going to be seeing some mixing throughout the remainder of the week. Quick look at your 7-day forecast. We've got sunshine today, a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow, but a few isolated flurries because of that low, and that continues to be the trend, but it doesn't look as though we're going to be seeing much in the way of accumulation. Temperatures are just a touch too warm. Okay, let's take a look at some news, I think.
Okay. Well, dictionary.com is out with its 2024 word of the year, and their word is demure.
You see how I do my makeup for work? Very demure, very mindful. I don't come to work with a green cut crease.
Okay. Demure went viral over the summer thanks mostly to a social media and beauty influencer. The company says the word usually describes reserved behavior, but it now is also associated with a person's appearance. Other contenders this year, Annette, were brain rot.
Okay.
Weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because of the U.S. presidential election. Candidates were describing each other as being weird.
Oh. And then brat, which was actually also already selected as Collins Dictionary word of the year. So the word of the year is already in the dictionary, but then it's just being
the most
highlighted.
Popular search.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's not like they don't get in a room and let's vote on this. It's just like
maybe they do.
You always feel like you gotta say demure.
I know. Demure.
Demure. Okay, there you go. Let's try and see how many times we can use demure. Of the show today. See you in a couple minutes.